Okay, welcome to the Hard Lessons podcast. Benji, Breakthrough Academy, is joining us here today. Benji, I really appreciate you digging out some time out of your evening here. So I look forward to get into this. Benji is really part of Breakthrough Academy is a lead content. Runs the content side of the organization there. Breakthrough Academy is super quick, and I'll give Benji a quick background as well. Really help businesses and contractors build out frameworks for them to optimize and build the best well-oiled machines. Really systemizing and getting them to the next level is what Breakthrough Academy is all about. Benji started early on in the trades, and he does have the experience. Started with college pro painter franchises through school years, and then got on board with Breakthrough Academy, and they're taking over, whether it's landscapers, painters, anything within the contract business. So Benji, I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me, Charlie.
Awesome. So the first one I've got for you, it's so impressive for me. Like over 600 contractors, I believe you guys work with, and you get them better and really the goal behind Breakthrough Academy. But if you don't mind diving a little bit deeper into the why behind your guys' team and your guys' organization.
Our mission statement is to transform honest, hardworking contractors into well-balanced leaders and thriving entrepreneurs. That's it in a sentence. So we believe that there is a way better path to running a successful construction, painting, landscaping, roofing, plumbing, electrical, you name it, business. And we also believe that most contractors deserve to have that mental image, that dream state business that they want to come true and be a reality. And sadly, for a lot of people, that's not the case. They get into business with big ideas and a lot of excitement and end up it's sort of stuck at a plateau. Their business is not growing. They're not enjoying it as much as they thought they would. And that's because growing a business is very hard, but it's also because there's some very real skill gaps and some knowledge they don't have, some tools they don't have access to, some methodologies, some philosophies. They just, to be honest, need to be shown how to run a better business. And that's what we do. The companies that we work with are usually between $1 and $10 million a year when they start with us. And our goal is to help them grow their revenue, grow their net profit, and reduce their hours worked. That would be basically the 3 KPIs that we track a lot. Is the size of your business growing? Is the efficiency of your business growing? And that's measured in terms of how much money it makes. And are you working less while doing it so that you can focus on your family, focus on your passions, and be a little bit more balanced? We implement a 6-part framework that we call the Contractor Growth Method. We can get into it more if you want, but we do have a model that we've developed and researched and studied and built that we implement into the business that we coach. And it works really well. And the companies that we work with enjoy all those things that I talked about quite measurably. Our latest sort of member success metrics, this is from last year. On average, the businesses that we work with grow their revenue by 25% after a year in the program. On average, they grow their net profit by 69% after a year in the program. And on average, they work 8 hours less per week after a year in the program. So yeah, that's a little bit about us.
So I'd love your thoughts on this. And I see this super commonly, like contractors in general, is they get into the business being so skilled at what they're doing, whether it's painting or landscaping, whatever it is, but they're very good at what they're doing, not so much the business aspect, the running the business, more tradesmen. And what do you feel and see among the companies you work with that first step looks like, or those low-hanging fruits are for them to transition more from the very, very skilled tradesmen and why they got into it, more the businessmen, $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. What does that transition look like in your eyes?
There are a lot of pieces of low-hanging fruit. I think from case to case, it really depends. So, okay, let me say this. Like, I think a lot of people are always asking questions or looking for like, hey, what's the first three things, or what's like the most important silver bullet, or, you know, what's the playbook to grow a business, or what am I doing wrong? Like, and so I'll do my best to sort of give a concrete answer here, but I guess I would preface it by saying, it really depends on the business owner. Like, you have to take into account some variance between contractor to contractor. Some business owners have one set of strengths, and other business owners have another set of strengths, and they all have sort of inverse weaknesses. And so generally speaking, the lowest hanging fruit that business owners can sort of knock off the list is usually getting better at the things that they're worst at, or delegating it, or hiring someone else to do it. There's usually a couple things that they completely ignore, that they're, whether that be their bookkeeping, whether that be learning to be a better leader, whether that be learning to train crews on site so that they can effectively run projects without them. Like, whatever it is, there's usually something that is a bit of their Achilles heel. And so that's, that is person to person. To give you a more concrete answer from what I see, just like low-hanging fruit, and if we're talking sort of that true like owner-operator, man or woman in the field with a couple helpers trying to get to that next stage where, maybe they're a little bit more removed from the field. And there are lots of stages after that, which we can talk about if you want. But the biggest thing that I see is it might surprise people, but it's effective job costing. What happens a lot of the times is you do really good work. So you start your business. Maybe it's just you, maybe it's a couple of helpers. And you have a pretty good sense for what things should cost and how long things should take. And so you start basically doing, napkin estimates, where you're ballparking work and giving quotes. And because it's a really small business without an office and a fleet of vehicles and a bunch of insurance, it's like the small little business. You don't carry a bunch of overhead. And so on the surface, it looks like, yeah, that could actually work. I price jobs for more than it costs me to fulfill them, and it should all even out in the wash. And hopefully a year later, we've got some money in the bank. What actually happens is by not having good job costing, and to be clear, what I mean by that is sort of monthly post-mortems, like retroactive analysis of the projects that just got completed and whether or not those projects were completed and made the money that they were estimated to make, right? Did we complete this $10,000 job for $5,000 and keep $5,000 for ourselves as I estimated, or did the labor go sideways, or did the materials go sideways, or the change orders that weren't accounted for? Was there weather that pushed us off course? You get what I mean? So like, if you're not looking back and doing that kind of tracking, you really have no idea where your profit centers are, and you really have no confidence in whether or not your business is profitable or not. You're going on that sort of,
really measuring is what you're getting at, and not being able to improve. If you have nothing to improve on, there's nowhere to go, right?
Yeah, but it's more, it's that, and it's more than that, because what I actually think happens is you have a business owner in that situation. They know that they don't know their numbers. They don't want to admit it. They don't want to talk about it. They don't really want to look at it, but they know that they don't know their numbers on some level. And a lot of times that lack of confidence or that lack of clarity keeps them from hiring the part-time administrator that they need, keeps them from hiring, their first laborer, their first job site manager, whatever. And they kind of stay in that rut forever, not forever, but for longer than they need to. So that would be one. No job costing. Another would be learning how to delegate effectively and learning how to priority manage effectively. And by priority manage, I mean like actually have an organized approach to one's calendar. A lot of business owners just get up and do what needs to be done, and again assume or kind of hope that it will all even out in the wash, and they will be better off a month from now, a quarter from now, a year from now than they are today. That is a huge assumption, and it's not really the case. What needs to happen is there's a really well-defined annual goal. I think that we've all heard enough from podcasts and speakers about how important goals are, so I won't belabor the point, but that, in my opinion, isn't really enough. You need to, anyone can make a vision board, anyone can go to a conference and get all excited and put a big number on a whiteboard, anyone can do, morning affirmations and believe that they're going to do it. And I think that all that's good and needed, but there's another step, which is you do need to be really disciplined, even religious about how you plan out your time from Monday to Sunday. Are the activities in your calendar the right activities that are connected to the goals that you said were important, right? If you say you want to do $1 million in sales and production this year, okay, well, how many jobs are needed to do $1 million? How many sales are going to be needed to get those jobs? How many estimates need to complete to sell those projects? How many leads you're going to need to do those estimates? Like that whole process of reverse engineering, and you do that on the sales front, the marketing front, the production front, and then you actually put that into a weekly block schedule so that you can ensure that like the activity in your week is aligned with those goals. I think that's another really huge piece that is it has a bigger impact than people fully appreciate until they fix the problem, and then they go, holy shit, I don't know how I ran my business for this long without that. So that priority management piece is really, really good. Go ahead.
Once they open their eyes to that, you feel that's really like what flips the switch for them moving forward, I guess. Like, and by the way, before you go on, I can tell you interviewed Dan Martell because the whole buy back your time framework is exactly what you just mentioned. And I feel like I really struggled with that starting out, of like it'd be already 8 p.m. and the whole day I just spent running around gathering materials, making sure, putting out fires, right? And like calendar analyzing. I think that's a really, really good point for contractors, especially to look at the vision board, look at the goals. Sure, all those are great, but what actually happens when you take a step forward, and how are you going to actually put that into action, right?
It's a huge piece. And without that, it becomes really, really difficult to delegate. So that was going to be my second point, is like, if you don't have a structure and a plan for yourself, how on earth are you going to successfully do that for someone else? And the reason that, most junior business owners have a year to 5 years where they just hire people and turn them over basically like a revolving door. It's not because they're underpaid. It's not because they don't like landscaping. It's not because they're lazy. It's because like you, the business, like you're a shit show, and you're a shit show to work for, and it causes them stress and anxiety. They don't really feel confident. There's no structure. And so they go to find that somewhere else. So I think, those are my thoughts on just like some of the easy steps to get from that really grassroots level of business owner to one that's just a little bit more evolved.
So you briefly touched on that there, Benji, of like the really quick turnover and high turnover, and sure we're contractors and it happens great, but building out a team, it all comes back to the team. If your team's weak, you're nothing at the end of the day. So one thing to like, what are a few things to help guys? Number one, culture, obviously that's super important, but a little bit more depth of that. And please add to this comment here, but what we found work of making it clear what success looks like and having those KPIs in place, so they know what they can set visions, they can set goals, and they know when they're doing a good job, opposed to having it all just thrown out there and blurry to some of these individuals working with organizations like that. What can you add to that?
In terms of retaining your team, or in terms of KPIs?
In terms of the importance of making it clear what success looks like.
It's everything. I mean, people need structure. Employees are employees for a reason. They're not an entrepreneur who loves chaos. They're not as generally as adept at solving problems and living in the gray, and they're a little more risk averse. And so you need to create as much as possible an environment where your expectations are crystal clear. Their training and onboarding is actually aligned with getting them to a place where they can achieve that. There's some rhythmical accountability, whether that's a weekly one-on-one or bi-weekly. Hopefully there's a CRM or a project management tool or something where you can track some actual data, some clean data, and give someone feedback on their role. I mean, this is all stuff that people, I'm not saying anything new here. This is stuff we're all really familiar with. Where the work actually happens is in the figuring out what those KPIs should be. And in the businesses like the ones that you work with, Charlie, and that you talk to, it isn't super complicated stuff, but you do need to pick the right things. A salesperson should be responsible for dollars sold. There should be some expectations on their closing ratio. So how many estimates out of 10 or out of 100 are they successful on? Should be above 30% in my experience. And there's no reason it shouldn't be above 40% if they're any good. Someone in the field, they should be responsible for hours produced. The way that you track that is by estimating how many hours are needed to do a job, and you do that accurately and consistently and reliably through time. There'd be some KPIs on customer satisfaction, and that's measured by post-job surveys or Google ratings or however you want to do it. So the work is in the figuring out what they ought to be, and then in communicating that through really clear and simple employment agreements, written documents that the employee has a chance to read through when they start. They get reviewed every year. They sign off on them with a signature so that you actually have a line in the sand to say, hey, you know what, Tim, like we actually did talk about this, and you are, not meeting these things that we need you to meet. And here's what we're going to do to get you back on track. But yeah, I think, there's like a whole part of our curriculum at Breakthrough Academy that is spent on how to figure out what KPIs you need for each individual role in your business, and then which KPIs you should measure for yourself as a business owner.
So, in terms of prioritizing that, Benji, I'm sure it's super easy for someone to go from one side of the spectrum all the way up to the other of over systemizing, over complicating, and having their employees hate the idea of a system, just trying to get them to follow. They go to, whether it's a Breakthrough Academy, I know you guys do the live webinars or a podcast or whatever it is, like, oh, I need all these systems. They come Monday morning to their team with a pile of paper, and this is what we're going to do. That you got to follow this checklist, this, that, and the others. Where do you draw that line? I'm sure it's a very transparent line. Is it something that is slowly drawn out through a period of time, or is it about how it's presented to the team? where do you stand with that?
That's a really good question. There is absolutely such a thing as over systemizing a business. I think some people nerd out on systems as a way to say that they're busy or feel like they're making progress when what they really need to do is go sell some jobs and go finish some jobs and get paid for some jobs. I wish I had a better answer for this. I don't know. Like, I think you need as many systems for your financials, for your organizational structure, for your hiring, for your training and onboarding, for your sales and marketing, for your goal setting and execution. You need as many systems for those categories as allows for a healthy and growing business. Beyond that, you're kind of wasting time. I have a bit of a saying that I think is useful. Don't go build a 60-page manual when a 1-page checklist is all they need. So I think you really need, like, yes, systems are great, but people listen to too many podcasts and they go to too many webinars. And I have a podcast that I do, and I run webinars every week. So I think I'm entitled to say this. Like, there is a time to just, like, keep it simple, stupid, make a little quality control checklist for how you want your guys to close out the projects. And if it's 70% complete, but you're missing a few things, that's better than nothing. Chuck that in place and then move on to the next thing, and you can circle back to that 70% complete thing later on. So I don't
started, right? Like, just doing it shitty, get something started and get something in place, and then we'll refine slowly as we go.
That's generally my approach to things. People want to geek out over spreadsheets, or, I can't tell you how many times, Charlie, like, we'll work with a business is doing $250,000, and that's great. Like, there's nothing wrong with your first few years being a small little business and trying to grow to $1 million. But at that stage, is a, like, super advanced KPI dashboard more important than selling jobs and getting paid? No, it isn't. And I think that I don't have a rule or like a litmus test or a way to know. It's just an intuitive sense. I think people should always be analyzing where they're at on that spectrum. Hey, am I kind of going too fast and loose here and need to tighten things up? Okay, then let me do that a little bit to a place where I'm happy again. And then on the other side, am I, sitting on my computer geeking out over data or trackers or software when really what's needed is some actual hustle to, get the revenue in the door. So I think you need to be really mindful of both of those things. And the reason I'm kind of making a joke about podcasts and webinars is that, they all say how important systems is, and this is the future, and every speaker at a conference is going to tell you how important systems is, and they're right. But the actual work needs to get done too. And I think people want to graduate out. This is a better way to put it. People want to graduate out of that grassroots level, that operator level, sooner than reality suggests they should. They're, like, excited and chomping at the bit to, like, sit in the office and just work on strategy and just work on culture. And, they read the 4-Hour Work Week and they listen to Dan Martell, who's amazing, by the way, and they think, I'm going to be there in 3 years because I'm going to implement systems, even though they don't even know which systems they're talking about. When in reality, that, like, even for a good, smart entrepreneur, that's probably a decade's worth of work to make that happen. And I think you just need to, like, honor that journey and be patient with yourself and be patient with your business.
So with, like, that's I totally agree with being a little bit too proactive on, like, if you've got no leads coming in the door and you're geeking out over
right,
you're useless. But on the same token, Benji, of like something Dan Martell says of being who you want to be in in 5-10 years, acting what you should be worth then, not now. And like, where do you feel you draw the line? Because you just mentioned, like, sure, guys are wanting to grow and grow their business or grow in an organization, but sometimes jump there a little too soon.
Where do I draw the line with what, Charlie?
Where do you draw the line with guys wanting to keep go, but also like when to tell them to tone it down? You're being a little bit too much. Like you mentioned, geeking out over systems and no leads are coming in. Like how you put that on a spectrum? Because people running a business, they're always wanting the next thing, the next great thing, right? That keeps them going.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just need to be real with yourself and have a look at your business as an organism. Like, think of your business. I think that's a useful way to position it. Like, think of your business as a separate thing from you. A good analogy is a garden, okay? And I'm not a huge gardener, but I know enough about plants to say this. Like, you need to look at the garden and say, what does the garden need right now? Does it need more sunlight? Does it need more water? Does it need better topsoil because there's not enough nutrients? Does it need a crop rotation because I've been growing the same plants? Like, your business is a thing. It's not just you. It's its own thing. You play a big role in it, but it is its own thing. And so you need to think about what that business needs. And if you're not super confident, talk to a friend or maybe a friendly competitor, or work with a coach like Breakthrough Academy and ask them what they think it needs. But the mistake I'm trying to, have people avoid is just, if you're a hammer, then everything looks like a nail. It's like, if you're really into systems and everything looks like it needs a system, that's sort of true, but sometimes your business just needs some blood, sweat, and tears, and you got to do that for a little time, and then you grow it, and then it needs some systems, then it needs some people, and then it needs this other thing and this other thing. And so I just think having an awareness about how you ought to tend to the garden is a good way to always think about it.
That's a good visual, and what I got out of that is like just prioritizing and highlighting those key 4 or 5 things of what does this business need, and is it the go right now, or maybe it's taking a step back and making sure the thing just runs. Okay, business in general, Benji, just contractor specific, but the importance of like, I really don't like the word balance. Like, we're here to be the best. There's not going to be balance in our life, but with taking care of yourself personally to have an optimized result, whether it's sleep, fitness, health, and coming from a contractor, working with guys who are fairly rough or run themselves out, especially like in a spray rush, for example. How important is this business in general? But I'm sure you see this contractors quite often. Really highlighting the importance of self-care, I guess.
I like the word balance. I'm not anti-balance. I think that people get it wrong. Again, and I'm not saying anything new here, but it's diet, sleep, and exercise. I mean, those are your core 3. Those are the 3 legs to the stool. If you eat like shit and you get your lunches at 7 and, are drinking a Slurpee, you are going to feel like shit. Exercise, you don't need to run an ultra marathon, but could you do a long walk or a hike, maybe a run, maybe some weights, 3+ times a week? And then sleep, it's just basic 8 hours. I think people get a little nutty with the sleep thing. I think I'm blessed because I just happen to be a very good sleeper, but I would always be checking those 3 things and to see if they're in check. Look, I mean, I still have to be disciplined about this. We're in a pretty big push cycle here in our business right now. I've been, burning the candle at both ends here for the past, I'm going to say 4 months, but what feels like 4 years. And I woke up both yesterday morning and this morning. I said, you know what? I'm gonna open my laptop at 9 today. I was on my computer at 7 the day before, and 7 the day before that, and I've been going till 6 or 7 at night. I think I'm just gonna sleep in a little today, and I did, and I felt great, and I'm glad I did. And like I just think, I think those things are really important, and I think that if you're a serious person. And if you're not a serious person, you're not really listening to this podcast anyway. But if you're a serious person, like there is a relationship that you have with yourself, with your body, with your soul, that you tend to and take care of. And I don't know, man. I think like people get a little carried away with diets and sleep hygiene and how many milliliters of water did you drink today, and did you get your electrolytes, and like, I don't know, dude, I take AG1 in the morning. I try not to drink on weekdays. I get good sleep. I try to keep healthy relationships with the people in my life, and I don't really think about it beyond that. If you're feeling yourself deteriorate, you find yourself under the weather, you have a sore throat. I'll tell you what's a really big indicator. This is useful. I think people need to pay attention to their mood a lot more. Everyone's got these fucking Nuva rings and sleep trackers and Fitbits and smartphones and these gauges and needles and meters and dashboards that are telling them how they're doing. I'm like, you have all that built into your system. I've never got that. You have all that built into your system. So just ask yourself, try to pay attention. How am I feeling today? Did I just blow the head off the guy at the lumber yard or the landscape yard? Did I just yell at a client? Did I just yell at a guy? I think that can tell you so much more than the health app on your iPhone, or what the latest trend is, what the latest diet trend is on whatever podcast you're listening to. I don't know. That's my take on it, dude.
So how you feel like that, but at the same time, having shitty days when there's still stuff to get done. Like sometimes I wake up the wrong side of the bed and there's still shit you got to do. Or when the alarm goes off at 5:30 or 6 a.m. and you don't need to go to the gym, right? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Because I think you're definitely have a very good point of like listening to your body, and you know your body better than anyone else does. But at the same time, sometimes there's shit to get done and business to take care of.
Yeah, dude. I mean, look, I am not at all saying, like, we do have a bit of a snowflake culture here in North America, certainly Canada, and certainly with people your age. I hate to tell you that, but your peers are a little off. I'm 10 years older than you. Like it's, and even people my age, I roll my eyes at a lot. I am not sitting here saying, like, listen to your body and make sure you're taking time for yourself. It's like, dude, if you have a project to finish, go finish the project. So I'm definitely more on this side of the aisle than that. Look, there are a lot of times, half the time or more, where that is a reality and you're not feeling optimal, and maybe you are in a bad mood, and if you have this big wall of work to get through. I'm constantly negotiating with myself to get as much of that done as I can. I also have a pretty good, so two things. I have a really good sense. You develop over time a really good sense, and you're still pretty young, Charlie. I don't know if you're starting to find like your brain noticing this. I'm sure it is already, but it really happened for me in my 20s. I'm still pretty young. I turn 32 next week, but over the last 5 years in particular, I'd say I'm really gained an understanding of like, okay, what is actually really important right now? And what seems really important, but I could negotiate into some time tomorrow that I might have, some time next week that I might have. Like, what is the
like over the bitch voice in your, right?
Going over the bitch voice in my head and saying, what is absolutely situation critical, non-negotiable, have to get it done. running payroll on time so your guys get paid so that they don't quit and you don't have, a huge problem on your hands, like that's non-negotiable. But there might be an email that you really should get back to someone on tonight, but you actually probably could do it tomorrow over coffee if you had to. And you open the email by saying, thank you for your patience. Here's the thing that I said I would get you last night. Like what you get what I'm saying? Like you develop a way better sense for like what's really, really critical and what you can maybe negotiate into the next day or the day after or the next week. I do that every single day. That's just reality. The other thing that I think you develop a pretty good sense for is some detachment from your business and from your results. Like when you were starting out, you have a lot more identity wrapped up in your business's success, in your customers' happiness, and
Emotional.
it's way more emotional. It's actually quite unpleasant. And you'll hit a time in the next 5 years, probably sooner because you're smart, where there's a little buffer. There's a little buffer. There's like this little there's like a liner of insulation between you and your business today. And you're able to go, you know what? That's just going to have to be enough for today. I know that I've done my absolute best. I'm going to, I'm going to close my computer now, or I'm going to leave the job site now. And I will the things that were unfinished, I will finish very soon. But for right this second, that's going to have to be enough. And you find that it just, that muscle you develop, and it just bothers you less. You kind of just get a little more comfortable doing that. That's going to have to be enough today. And so I think those two things can be really helpful on those days where you don't feel the best, but you have to get it done. It's like, get the stuff done that you have to get done. And, like I say, do your best, forget the rest. Not forget the rest, but maybe just reschedule the rest till the next possible moment when you can do it.
Reanalyze the rest. I love it. Awesome. And yeah, I do agree with that, of like going the end of the day, not feeling empty, knowing that you did give it all your all in those few emails. So that email to Susie or the email to that one, whatever, it's okay. It can wait till tomorrow. So one comment I'd like you to leave us with, Benji. I don't want to keep you in much longer here, but a common standard that you hold among not only your peers, but professional and through the business, coworkers as well, like a standard that you hold everyone to.
I personally hold people to.
Yeah. What's one solid one?
Oh man, you'd have to ask the people I work with. I think that punctuality is really important. I hate it when people are late without telling you. Like I texted you before this podcast and says, "Hey man, I need a couple extra minutes, but I'll be right with you." That kind of stuff goes a long way for me. People who are late constantly, I really have a hard time with.
Do you feel that voids it when you give them a heads up?
I do. Yeah. Yeah, I do. You don't need to be a robotic, like they're 15 minutes early every single time, but you have to have an understanding and a respect for other people's time when you're interacting with them. If you text someone 5 minutes before a meeting and say, I'm going to be an hour late, and you do that 6 times a week, I think you have a problem. But I think from time to time, it's okay. And if you're communicative about it, I don't think it's a big deal. So I think punctuality is really important. I have a personal mantra, which is use your brain. I really don't like it when people don't do critical thinking. And what I've noticed a lot of the time, what I've noticed with people is there's a real tendency to outsource critical thinking. They don't, because what you realize is your brain is a pretty demanding tool. Of the 2,000 calories a day that most human beings need to survive, about 500 of them go just to your brain. So it's 2% of your body mass, and it takes up 25% of your caloric intake. I mean, just think about that for a second. Like, it's an expensive thing to carry around because it demands a lot of energy, and it demands a lot of life force. But your brain is an amazing tool, and I wish people would use it more often. So one of the things a standard that I have is don't come to me with problems. Come to me with problems, but maybe a few solutions that you've thought through a little bit, and then we can have a conversation and I can give you my input and I can maybe coach you on the one I think is best. But yeah, I really admire people that are strong critical thinkers and they're strong. They have a propensity to solve problems independently. And then another standard that I would just say is a big one is that I really don't like complainers. I think a good vent session every once in a while is good. If you need to like vent about your business or a customer or an employee that's really pissing you off, you should have a friend or a colleague or a family member or a girlfriend or wife or husband or partner or whatever that you can do that with. And you just say, you know what, I just got to get something off my chest. But that's very different from someone who's just like a chronic complainer and a chronic whiner about life and about their life situation. So I don't know, man. Those are three that come to mind. Be on time, use your brain, stop complaining.
So when you use your brain, do you find it gets better, like as you are going back to your colleagues of like, okay, like what are your solutions? I'll give you my 2 cents as well, opposed to just, hey, Benji, hold my hand.
Does it get better?
Yeah, like do you see like a progression with them of like eventually they just actually use, like, because you make them use their brain, so then they just stop coming to you?
Look, the textbook answer and what I would say on my own podcast and what I would say on webinars is that you can coach people to be better problem solvers. And everyone's heard like the 3-step rule. It's like when someone comes to you with a problem, you say, okay, what are 3 potential solutions? Which one is your favorite? If I were on a desert island, what would you do without me? Like that's kind of like the coaching methodology that people follow to coach people to become better problem solvers. And I believe that there's a little bit of movement that you can do, but I think that people's inherent, it takes a long time and the progress is not crazy. I generally think that's more of a nature versus nurture thing. I think some people are just really good at it and some people aren't, and you should try to invest in the people who aren't, but don't be disappointed 2 years later when you're still like, okay, man, like, that sounds cynical, but that's the honest truth. Some people are better problem solvers than others.
It took something to the head very young, yeah. So
yeah, exactly.
Awesome, Benji. Listen, I don't want to keep you any longer. Where can people find you? Breakthrough Academy, socials. Give us it all.
All right, man. It's www.btacademy.com is our website. You can check out our podcast called Contractor Evolution. Every Wednesday on every platform, Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. On Instagram, we are at B like Benji, T like Thomas Academy, at BT Academy. Those are 3 places to find us.
Benji, I appreciate your time. Thank you.